الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا ابن رسول الله وابن أمير المؤمنين وابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدتنا وسيدة نساء العالمين غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء فلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, today I've decided to talk about something that I usually don't talk about for many reasons. I'll be listing inshallah afterwards. But it is a very important subject, and I believe that in any and in every series of lectures, at least one has to be dedicated to the human relationship and the human nature. I don't claim to be an expert. However, I've been living on this earth long enough to know that people come in all shapes and forms and colors, especially when it comes to personality. However much we may look alike, our thought system, our, let's say, psyche, the way that our brain is wired is always different from one to another. So I decided to dedicate this talk, alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, to the art of dealing with others, per the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi and their progeny, because it's very, very important that we look at Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam before we decide things by ourselves. We're all entitled to our own decision, of course. However, because we are so different from each other, we have different experiences, cultural backgrounds, different things happening to us in different times, and different knowledge, basically, when it comes to things that are either worldly or out of this world, something that is related to the thereafter. And sometimes we fail to find the balance, and we are so different in thought that we don't know what is right and what is wrong. So the best way is to look at Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam and how they conducted themselves in interaction with others. And so from that we are going to take, inshallah, ibrah, as they say, or we are going to take lessons out of their very, let's say, beautiful presence on this world. So what I'm going to focus on, inshallah, now on is the spouse affairs between a husband and his wife, and obviously vice versa. And this, what I'm going to say, is not exclusive to being husband and wife, but it could apply on friends between each other, because really your preparation to be a good husband or a good wife is being a good friend to those that are close to you and share the same gender. They give you an idea of how it is to deal with others, and the differences in the way that we act and understand things and misunderstand things. So basically I'm going to share 4 points, alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, 4 points that are related to the relationship between the husband and his wife, and 4 points in the relationship between a wife and her husband. So because we want to take responsibility, let's speak first about husbands and how they should deal with their wives. Let's start with that and alternate points, inshallah ta'ala. So before that, sallu ala Muhammadin wa alih. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The first fault that many men fall into when they're dealing with their wives is helicopter parenting. And you'd say, but parenting is the relationship between the father and his children. The problem is here. Sometimes we deal with our wives as if they are our children, in the sense that we want them to do things exactly like we want them, without any change, and we interfere in many matters that they take into their own hands. It's their responsibilities. It's not necessarily a religious responsibility, but it is a normal responsibility, per the norm, per the culture. I'll give a swift example of that. Maybe you're a kind of person that is very tidy, and you'd always like for the sink to be clear. So no dishes there that are unwashed. It's either washed or not there. I want to have a clear sink. That is what you would say as a man. Going into the kitchen, which is the part of the normal, let's say, and cultural responsibility generally of a woman. So you would tell her exactly how to clean those dishes, where to put them, when you want them cleaned, and you forget something that is very important. Just like you have your work and life, she has her work and life. And just like you have your own way in doing things, she does the same. It's more efficient for her to leave them, for example, in the sink, just, curating with this water that she just sprayed them, so it's easier, and she wouldn't have to scratch surfaces, and she'd have, she collectively at one time, because if she keeps continuously just cleaning up after each and every person uses a dish or a spoon or something like that, then she wouldn't have any time to do anything else. You as a man coming back from work, maybe she works also, but you coming back a certain time and looking at the place and saying, you didn't do anything, what have you been doing all day, or at least before the time that I have come? And this will fuel difficulties. So treating our woman like we treat our children is a big no-no. Even if you don't like it, if something is their responsibility, let them be, unless something is very dangerous, or something is very costly, or something is really interfering in the way that you run your household as the patriarch, then of course you may have a discussion. But I promise you, maybe what you're saying will fall on deaf ears. Why? Because they don't truly owe us an explanation of what they're doing. This is the way that it has always been in their eyes. This is how they were conducting their household. And it's all going great so far. Maybe not up to your par, but we need to understand that if we set standards, we need to be very careful that those people that we are asking to follow the standards, is it realistic to them or not? It's realistic to you as a man whenever you drink from a cup to wash it directly, because you don't find this responsibility, even though it is very good that you help, but you don't find this responsibility upon you to go and wash the dishes that your children have left over. She does that. She has this added pressure. So you adding pressure won't only fuel arguments between both parties, it will lead nowhere. We need to understand that there is just so much that we could change. People have their ways, and it's very difficult for them to change unless they find it to be better for them. So essentially, increasing the cycle, let's say the range of your control from your children to then go around your wife also, will cause dissonance in the household, and there isn't going to be equilibrium. The matriarch has to be respected as the person that is ruling the household inside, and the patriarch should be taking the decisions that are, regarding the matters that are within his hands. And if each person respects the other for what he does, then alhamdulillah. And this actually entails something else, because many times, maybe I dare say most of the time, men see that what they're doing and what they're introducing to the household is more important. Whenever an argument comes up, I'm paying the rent, I'm the one that is stuck with the paperwork, I'm the one that takes the children everywhere. If someone gets sick, it's on my behalf. If we travel, I need to book the tickets, I need to do stuff, I need to do all of the arrangement. If we go out, I'm the one that's going to pay. All of this is nonsense. Why? Because this is part of who you are as a man. If you're expecting your wife to do things that are normal to a woman, you are also expected to do things that are normal for a man. And you have no bragging rights at all. It's just your responsibilities and hers. That's it. If you're doing your responsibilities, it's not, even though your children and wife are benefiting, they are not the ones that are going to give you the prize and bounty. You're going to find the prize in seeing then your household flourish, firstly, in this world. Secondly, Allah is the one that gives the ajr. Allah is the one that rewards us. We shouldn't wait or expect the reward from this world, because if we do that, then we are preventing ourselves from 90% of the ajr and the virtue that and blessings that Allah is going to give us. If we do something for Allah's sake, sayajzi bihi, as in the narrations say. But if we mean something else, if we are just doing our household chores, whether man or woman, just for the sake of just continuing life and feeling like those people, the other people that are sharing your household, you have the liability and they have the responsibility to pay back, this will always stir things up to no avail. Same thing also applies, as I said, on other relationships, like between friends. Sometimes one friend likes to control the life of another because he sees that, oh, this is the best for you. Oh, don't work over there. Oh, don't go and walk with and befriend person X. Don't do such and such. If you introduce this relationship that should be between a father and child or a mother and child, between you and your friend, they wouldn't feel like becoming your friends. And there is a reason why our children talk to their friends more than they do to us, because we are forced to enforce and regulate. And whenever someone regulates and enforced, you will feel negative towards them. Even religion is a group of guidances. It regulates, it constricts. So to an extent, we all hate religion within our heart. We don't hate the actual religion, but how religion affects the way and the motion that we have and mobility within our life. Of course we do. I, for one, could state that. I could say that if Allah didn't make prayer or fasting obligatory, I'd have more freedom going out and about and doing the things that I do. Anyways, so for the first point regarding how men should deal with their wives, men should always be respectful, especially when it comes to things that are normally the area of women. The second thing, not only do they have to be respectful, but not to be parents. They need to be husbands. And it's all right. Let things fall out of place. What will happen then? Let your son break a glass now and then. Let the things marinate in the sink, the dishes, while not being washed. What will happen after that? You wouldn't die. Your children wouldn't die. Khalas, just enjoy peace of mind. Go back a couple of steps. Now, alternating, we'll talk about spouses and wives. So, wives, when dealing with their husbands, there is this very, very important thing or fault that many fall into, which is not enough recognition. A man, even though he is the top authority per Islam in the household, in the normal circumstances, sometimes it's oppositely, but we're just talking the general consensus. Within the general consensus, the man has most of the responsibility. Men like to be recognized for it. If your man once in a blue moon washes the dishes, hopefully more than that, but if he does, you need to recognize it. Even though he may not recognize when you do it because he considers it as your role, but it's his love language. It's part of his love language. And when men don't feel recognized, they think this directly. So, for example, he washed the dishes, not even a smile, not even a remark. He will feel, oh, I'm doing most of the important things in the household, which I said, again, is incorrect, because the lady usually takes care of the children and the upbringing, which is more important than your household. The future is more important than the current. So they are actually more important. And certainly the Prophet has said that several times. So if a woman does not recognize, then the man will say, I am doing most of the responsibility. I'm going over my way to wash the dishes this once, and I find no recognition. It's the same. I just wasted my time, because they also don't connect it normally to Allah, and I'm doing this for the sake of Allah, I'm doing this for the sake of my wife. So men always feel that they are unappreciated. They feel that women don't know how hard they work. They feel like women don't understand how tough it is to provide. They feel even if they get money, they are not they are not the main provider. So hence men feel that way. And men feel also that they are always required to do things that are extraordinary for them to be recognized. So a small recognition here and there goes a long way. This is the way that men operate. They don't do much usually in the household, but if they do, they like for it to be seen, not rewarded with money, but rewarded with affection. Men, even though they have this tough shell outside, usually inside they're very gooey. They have a gooey center. So they need something to relate to that. They need more recognition, and having no recognition is the first thing that comes up in marital counseling. Always the men would say that my wife doesn't say that, oh, we appreciate what you do enough. Oh, we appreciate that you have done such and such enough. Oh, thank you for doing this and that. Just this thanks, just this recognition, even without the thanks, is more than enough. So now, not showing, maybe you have recognition at heart, but not showing recognition is something, even though women, and indeed, generally, it's not that important. We should have our love that far transcends the needs for thanks. But in men's eyes, it's very important. This is what I'm trying to say. So it is not a fault per se. When dealing with others, you don't need to recognize every single thing. Now and then, of course, you need to do that. But that improves the relationship between both sides a lot and a lot. So, and we have narrations that say that whoever does not thank the created does not thank the creator, and it goes both ways. You as a man, if you go and you see, for example, that your household is clean, dinner is served, the place smells nice, looks nice, it comes actually from a big jihad. Imagine, having 3 children or 2 children or even 1 children ravaging through the house. In 1 second, they could just take the box of all their toys and just throw it on the ground. And that needs about 20 minutes. You're also, at the same time, the wife is trying to protect your child from committing suicide, because incidentally, children don't have sense of danger. So they choose the most dangerous things. If you give them a phone and then you give them an electric socket, imagine where they'd be playing. They'd be poking it with their little hands and trying to just getting through to it and seeing what happens next. So within all of this, and the need of cooking, the need of, all of the things that are in the house, it's really overwhelming. And studies have actually, and I've read this, I think 3 months ago, studies had shown that spending 12 hours with children is worse and more detrimental to mental health than spending 12 hours in work. Because there you're dealing with grown-ups. Sometimes they behave like children, they do, but most of the time you're dealing as someone that has no responsibility to the other. And you don't have to care and tend to the other, you're just doing your work. Whereas a woman, she needs to find even time to go, ajalakum Allah, to the toilet. Sometimes they get bladder infections just because they forget to go, or not forget, they don't really have time to go because they're taking care of the family. So second point, when it comes to the spouses or the wives dealing with the men. Again, there is a fault that men do very recurrently when they're dealing with their woman. The first thing, or the important thing, is when they always resolve to Allah's authority that has been given to them. So whenever there is dialogue between man and his wife, if the man feels like he is losing, he would say, oh, I am the one that is leading the house. Why did Allah give me the qaymuma? Qaymuma is like the right of authority. Why did he give me the right of authority? You're not going against me, you're going against Allah. It's like directly, if from a friendly situation, it goes into a war between righteousness and falsehood. Allah has given us the authority to lead the house, not so that we could wield it as a sword and stretch it upon the necks of our poor wives, but rather for us to understand dynamics. That's it. Amir al-Mu'mineen Salamullahi alayhi, he told Fatima al-Zahra when he actually went to marry her. So in the first year where he went into Medina, so he said, as a man, I'm going to take care of anything. سأكفيك مخارج المنزل. Anything that is outside of the home, I will take care of it. I'll bring the food, I'll do whatever it takes, bring the clothing, bring everything. So everything outside the house, it's my responsibility. And your responsibility is taking care of anything inside the house. So Fatima alayhi salam narrated after that, يعلم الله قدر ما أسعدت قلبي هذه الكلمات. In different wording, I forgot it, but what it boils down to is she's saying that God only knows how happy I was hearing this news, that I don't need to actually go and do things that are outside. So we have this, so the authority we're given, it's based on the dynamics and the socio-economical way that men humans should go on with their lives. It is not for us to be better. We are not better in the eyes of Allah than women. Indeed, actually, a woman has an easier path to get closer to Allah. Read the narrations that are speaking about childbearing, nursing, breastfeeding, caring for children. Even there is this narration that if a woman moves a glass of water or a glass or something from one place to another because she wants to make the household better, then God gives her bounty without even counting. So no one on this earth could actually count how much Allah gives this woman ajr because of what she has done. Even the simplest things, us as men know we need to do more in order to gain the same. Because even there was this narration that the Prophet ﷺ was in the mosque of Al-Medina and women barged in, 4 women. They barged in while he was sitting with the Sahaba, the companions, and they said, "O Prophet of Allah, we have a complaint." So he said, "Say it, you're already here, so go on. So they said, "You've given men jihad, you've given men breadwinning, you've given men all of these leadership of religion, and all of these things we would have wished to have. And indeed, many women would do it better than many men. Women are more meticulous and more careful and more tenuring. But to us, no, it's different." So anyways, they said, "What do we have?" So he said that when you deal with your husband and household in a way that Allah accepts and agrees with, then you are getting exactly what the men are getting without no minus. So you being martyred in war is nothing less than a woman taking care of her children. Indeed, you were once a man, a child under the hand of a woman raising you. Without her, you wouldn't be here even. So all in all, that this authority that Allah has given us is only to set dynamics, not to control women by it and make them feel bad like they're going against Allah. Her not washing the dishes for this day, again going back to the same classic example, does not mean that she's confronting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is a big fault here. The fourth fault now on behalf of the women when they're dealing with their men goes along with the third point, which is contesting the authority that is given to the man from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let me give this example. Going out of the household, that is a right for the woman, conditioned by having a permission, whether general or specific, regarding from her husband. So, for example, myself with my spouse, I told her already in the beginning of the marriage, I trust you entirely, you trust me entirely, you're free to go out at any time. We're just discussing the rulings of Allah. Allah has put that ruling for a reason. Sometimes going out in certain times, certain places causes dangers on the family before it is on the society or on the women themselves, for example, or whatnot. So Allah has given this authority. You are the one getting the most, let's say, responsibilities linked to the society as a man. The woman has more to do within the household rather than outside. So Allah has given you the chance to regulate that. So sometimes women see that when you are practicing this right, for a valid reason, of course, if it's for a bad reason, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets angry upon us. But for the right reason, in the right places, prevention of going out, for example, or prevention from certain things. For example, let me give this example, and this example I really, it's a personal example. So you know that women, when they are pregnant, they should have more nourishment. So fasting is not very good for them. So my spouse has said that I want to fast, and I know I'm fasting, so I'm pregnant, so I have a sense that doing recommended fasts is something that you wouldn't like. But I would truly like to fast in Rajab. I would truly like to fast in Sha'ban. And I will do my best, etc. But I'm looking at the greater good. So I'm saying, I promise you, I don't want you to fast, so I'm not allowing you to do so. But on behalf of Allah, I could speak and say that you are getting the blessings of the fast entirely. You're not missing out, because you're following Allah's command in following me. Secondly, I'm looking at the greater good of the child, and you are the same, but you have an overly strong trust with yourself that you will be getting enough nourishment. I don't, because I know it's very difficult to get proper nutrition while you're fasting. So this is one of the situations in which using this right is very good. So contestment after that does not truly go to the husband, it goes against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to be careful. So what I am trying to say is that both parties need to be careful when there is something that is given to them by Allah. They shouldn't weaponize it, either one. So both of them should be using it respectfully. So I think point 3 and 4 are the same in both senses. A mistake that men do a lot when they're dealing with women is the lack of affection. It's not truly a lack of affection sometimes, but the way that men express their love and endearment is very different from the way that women like it. So, for a man, again, going back to the point of love language, a man loves to provide. If he wants his lady to be happy, he'd send her extra money. He'd bring her a gift. He'd take her somewhere, for example, and buys her a good purse or something. That's the way that men usually show their love. Even to our friends, I mean, this is what we do. If someone has a birthday or something, we just buy him something, even though it may not be pricey, but it's the thought that counts. Women, however, appreciate love more than the items that are given to them. So they appreciate an embrace or a lovely, for example, kiss on the forehead or cheek or whatever. They love to hear kind words. Men, because they deal with the society a lot, and sometimes the women do, but again, general consensus. I'm not trying to, lower any party. Men and women, inshallah, in the eyes of God are equal, except on the basis of piety, as are all human beings. So, men, because they deal with so much outside, when they come back, they are actually burnt out. So when you're burnt out, you're less likely to be affectionate, you're less likely to do actions and say things that expose this. However, a man must always know that it is necessary from time to time to leave your love language and speak with a mutual language with the other party, and both would benefit. And part of that also is quality time with the spouse. Men usually don't tend to look for quality time with their women, not because they don't like it. It's because when men finish their work, they're so overwhelmed, they don't tolerate much more. So their idea of quality time is sitting down watching a movie. A woman's idea of quality time, however, is not that. Is having but having talking to each other freely, spending time and just speaking together, or showing love by embrace or whatever have you, all of these things. So they truly appreciate that. So before watching the movie that you'd like to unwind, spend some time also with your wife and talk to her, ask her about her day, and be genuinely interested in the answers. Some people just ask because they want to ask. They just want to move the discussion or the talk. They don't really want to hear. No, actually show compassion, show love, show your interest, because that genuine feel is what women long for a lot. Also, when it comes to women when dealing with men, when they're trying to, let's say, get closer to them, sometimes they push them away. So it is common psyche for a man to not want to do anything first thing he comes home. So for about half an hour, he doesn't want to hold a child. He doesn't want to entertain a talk. He doesn't want to express what happened in his day, usually. I mean, for me, no, it doesn't work that way, but for most men it does. So, expecting, if a woman finishes her work before men, or if they are working from home, they expect that the first meet between them and their man would be very, very special. Sometimes men don't provide that out of just tiredness. So, just receiving the man, oh, you have come, alhamdulillah, salama, let me take your stuff, let me help you. That, and maybe like 20 minutes of free time for the man, for him to freshen up, for him to just sit with his thoughts a little bit, to just unwind slightly. That will make him a better husband also. Much better husband. Because he will feel that you're understanding him, and then he'll say, oh, subhanallah, instead of just telling me, oh, we want to do this today, we want to buy this, oh, you didn't bring this, you didn't bring that, she gave me my space and then she came. So he's most likely to actually reply. So it's very important in that sense that men truly respect the first, women truly respect this first, let's say, moments. This is why many men run into, ajalakum Allah, the toilet. First thing that they come. And they spend a lot of time. They're not doing anything. They're just sitting over there and just going through their phones or something, or listening to, I don't know, anything, watching a show, because they feel like it's the only place in which they wouldn't be attacked and asked to do stuff. Because that's the first thing that usually happens, not usually, but in many times happens when a man goes back home. He's just faced, oh, we need to do this, that. And he feels, like it's very vulnerable in that state. Anyways, so women should also try to tend to that area. Men should also understand that even though they want to spend time with their friends, they must also spend time with their family. So many ladies, I can't even start to count how many they are, communicate and say that I find that my husband doesn't love me. Of course, that's always the first word in any argument, whether it's a woman speaking or a man. Men don't state it, women do state it. If there is a fight, men think it, but they don't say it. But women say it and think it also, which is good. Transparency sometimes is good. In moderation, yeah, usually it's good. Yeah, not in moderation. Anyways, so now, the man, the woman say that whenever his friends call, he's like, oh, Habibi, how are you? It's lots of time. I didn't meet you. I want to go out with you. When are we going? Oh, today? Yeah, I have nothing. And she said, he didn't even ask me if I want to go anywhere. Or sometimes she said that any free time that he has, any day off he has from work, he just wants to go out with his friends. So he doesn't love spending time with me. So this final point, I will make it general to be shared between men and women. For the men's side, they must understand that their woman do see his affection and his love and his want to go out with his friends. So he must think in her shoes, okay, I've been out with my friends 2 times now, 3 times in a row, and I didn't invite her even to dinner once. So there is an issue here. I can't go out 2 consecutive times with my friends and none with my wife. Even if we go to McDonald's and just, now McDonald's is boycotted, but bear with me. Go to a place that has the soft serve, buy one for 100 fils, okay? Have it and just enjoy the time. That's all that women want. Women don't want extravagant experiences. Oh, I have to take her to Bangkok. I have to go to Singapore. I have to take her to the UK. They just want true time with their loved one, the husband. So it's the men's responsibility to regulate. If you don't regulate, your woman will start to regulate and you'd hate it so much. And now moving on to the other point, regulation from the woman's side. Women should also understand, and I'm sure that most of them do, that if you give your husband time that is free, in the sense, go out, go enjoy your time with friends. If you give them that time, even like 1-2 hours a week, without no sort of strings attached, so you're not guilting them into going out and then, you're spending too much time. No, sincerely go and enjoy time with your friends. If they do that, then men will feel not only immense love, immense freedom, they are more inclined to actually go and enjoy time with their friends. Because sometimes, let's imagine this scenario. Let's call him, I don't know, Ahmed, and let's call her, I don't know, Hajar. So Hajar says to Ahmed, oh, you don't go out with us as much, you don't do this and that. And then he said, oh, but I want to go out. Ahmed says, I'm going to go out with friends. She said, no, you've been out so much this week or this month. No, I want to stay with you a little bit. Sometimes the husband does truly need to go outside and live another atmosphere. Women don't need that truly a lot. It's just the way that they are and the way that we are. So what Ahmed will do is will sit around complaining, holding his phone, speaking about his debts and everything that you don't want to hear. He won't be entertaining and you'd feel like you want to kick him out. It's the way of a man to throw a tantrum. Okay, you want some good time? Khalas, have some good time. I'm going to sit on the sofa and going to watch my phone. So it goes also, again, both ways. So women need to actually show their man that you could have time that is guilt-free out with friends and I enjoy that you're doing that. But still, again, men need to notice that their family also has needs and they have to go out, because usually women are more introverted than men. So you are when a man is married to a woman, she sees him like a friend in some sorts, sometimes a father, some sorts a mother. So she sees the whole world in this man, because her experiences are usually less ranged and, I don't know, constricted rather than a man. So you feel like you have the whole world, but she sees the whole world in you. So there needs to be respect to this point. Finally, what I'd like to advise is to actually ask each other frankly, what do you want as the minimal requirement for our house to function? I've done that, and it was very useful. Not on the intent that you will be doing the bare minimum. No, you want to do more, but you want to know where to draw the line. If I am busy this week, if I am weak, if I am sick, if there is a problem that I'm always contemplating and so I am not free in the mind, at least I need to do this. And believe it or not, the answer that I received was very limited. Women do actually require just a bit, but it needs to be thoughtful. This is the difficult part. If women feel like they need to force you to go out with them, they won't even enjoy going out with you. And they require another time and wish that you would actually say, oh, my wife, it's been a long time since we've gone out. Let's go. Let's leave the boys or the children somewhere or take them somewhere and we'll enjoy our time. That is very important. So both parties need to be frank and say the minimum I think I require is such and such. And then you'll see the work of Allah. Then you will see the work of Allah. Because, for example, the man says, I need to go out with friends at least 2 nights in a week. One of them, it should continue till Fajr. So I'll spend the whole full night outside, for example. Men also require just a little bit. So if a man has this agreement with his wife, he'd know the days that he's free, he'd know the days that he's busy, and he'd know that when he's enjoying time with friends, his wife is responsible for this good time. So he needs to give back to her. So I was intending actually to bring out many narrations that are speaking about the dynamics between Khadija alayhi salam and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa and Fatima alayhi salam and Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Unfortunately, time is upon us, but I truly ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to the path, to his path, and to aid us to understand more from the life of Ahlul Bayt so that we know what is right and what is wrong, because usually we are not calibrated. The only thing that calibrates us is our friends and our own thoughts, and that rarely does any good. The best caliber is the caliber of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the light of Allah, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. If we witness their lives and read, in many of the narration books, there are segregated places to talk about the spouse affairs between a man and a woman and how they should treat each other. You'd be amazed that many of them, if not all of them, pose as practical solutions that are really, really beneficial when it comes to dealing with the other. And with this, I conclude the talk. So, sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. This is the best question I think I've received in the entirety of my stay here. It says, nowadays, husbands and wives and children are all busy on their phone. Even when they're sitting together, how to treat this? I'll say how not to treat this. Some families I've seen, what they do is they put a curfew on phones. So no one uses the phone in the gathering. So they go around with a ball and they say, Yalla, put your phone on airplane mode and give it to me. And they go and do it. This does some benefit, but it is police work. It's not usually something that is very relaxing and very nice to experience. So the best way, I believe, is to have some genuinely beautiful experiences together, because let's face it, we like cake more than carrots. They share the same first letter, but they're so different in their ingredients, which means that however much good a carrot is, I know how good a carrot is, but 9 times out of 10, if you give me a carrot and a cake, I'll eat the cake. So in order for our family to enjoy sincere time without phones, we need to have sincere experiences without phones that are very beautiful and alluring, that they are actually ready to leave their phones just to experience them. Example, sure. So we'll go, and it's depending truly on the age of the children, but let's say that they are young. So we'll say, okay, now we're going to the sea. We're going to bring our barbecue with us. I'm going to cook. Your mother's going to make the salad and watch you over. And we're going to have some activities there. So bringing a volleyball to play sometimes with the children, going and swimming with them from time to time, all of this. And for 3-4 hours, if you want to leave, your children will say, no, we want to stay. So what I'm trying to say, don't look for experiences that are normal and expect for your children to obey the no phone policy in. Firstly, make them accustomed to experiences that are extraordinary, that don't entail any phones, and they will be naturally inclined to leave their phones then, because they know that leaving your phone means experiencing this thing. Another example, we all have our small families. Let's make a sleepover, bringing the cousins together. Let's say they're 12 years of age, 11 years of age. Okay, you have the PS4 there, and there are some activities also to be done. So it needs a lot of social wit, actually. But truly, we can't convince them to leave their phones. We have to make it pleasurable. If you make it pleasurable enough, they would. So this is just a suggestion on how to do it. There are many ways to make it pleasurable. 3 minutes left, so let's look for other questions. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam. Thank you for your work. Thank you very much for having me and for your kind words. May Allah bless you. Also likewise, and your family. My question is regarding the sajda which is performed when reading Quran. What is its meaning? Excellent question. And how should we perform it? Is it obligatory when reading or reciting? Thank you. Welcome. So the sajda, there are actually many sajdat in Quran, and you'd see like a small mihrab or prayer place sign in the Quran that shows you that you need to do sajda, and under the word that connotates the action of sujood, you'd have a line under it or above it. There are actually only 4 obligatory, and I think there are 20 non-obligatory. So 4 obligatory places in which one must perform sajda if he does it. So you have Surah Al-Alaq, you have Surah Al-Sajda, you have Surah Al-Safat, and you have Surah Al-Najm. These 4, when you recite the sajda in it, you have to do sajda. What do you need to do? Do you need to wear your veil? For example, a woman is reading in her house and she's not covering her head. Does she need to wear something that is more appropriate? No, she doesn't. Does she need or he needs to be on wudu? No, he doesn't. Of course, when women are experiencing the monthly cycle, they are not allowed to recite just the verse of sajda. But if they do, they also have to do sujood. You could say whatever. You could say Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah. There is actually many narrations, and they're different. They're about maybe I think 8 or more that show what you could say while doing sajdatul shukr. Sajdatul al-qira'ah. So you could memorize them. They're each like 1 line or 2 lines maximum. And so now I put the best last, which is, what is the meaning of this sajda? Why do we do it? What is the philosophical, let's say, aspect of it? See, all of the verses that I have mentioned here, the 4 and also the 20, they actually have a command. I won't be reciting it in Arabic because then we'll all have to do sujood. So I'll recite it in English. One of the verses that are obligatory is perform sujood to Allah and worship Him. So doing sujood directly after that signifies the obedience of Muslims. Imagine that we're reading Quran like it's a 200-person party. We're all there reading Quran and reciting Quran, and we have non-Muslims there. Let's say 25% of them non-Muslims. Imagine then someone reciting, so do sujood to Allah and obey Him in worship. And he'd see this movement, it's just like a beehive, all of them going to sujood at once. How beautiful is it? I got goosebumps just thinking about it, and I'm the one talking. So this signifies the immediate acceptance of a Muslim to the orders of Allah, which is called Islam or Taslim, or surrendering your will to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're just 1 minute over time, so let me look if there is thank you for the question. If there is another question, seems like there isn't any. So anyways, this is the second to last inshallah lecture. Tomorrow is going to be the final, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to always guide us into his righteous path, and inshallah may we all get the blessings of this holy month. And some of us didn't get enough blessings in what is previous, the previous days of Ramadan. May they inshallah get it in the remainder. Wa aflaha man salla ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.